Hello, and I seem to have managed to figure out how to record and higher audio. So, anyhow, today I watched Venus Wars, and I consider it a masterpiece, and I will do an analyzation of it, and I will also talk about a lot of the misconceptions and a lot of the cringe around people who talk about this on the internet. So, Venus Wars is about, obviously, the planet of Venus. They got hit by a comet, and it's become a wasteland, but the government is setting a lot of empty promises that it can flourish and grow flowers when it can't. And it's just corrupted by war, death, destruction, degeneracy. And Earth is still there, and they send a journalist over there to document the what's going on. And she happens to get there at the right time at the start of a revolution. And that's how Venus War starts. And it is the music is composed by the master Joe Hisaishi from Studio Ghibli, and it was written by a person that was involved with a lot of the older anime, character designs, Mobile Suit Gundam, all that, a lot of good stuff. So in the beginning, the movie starts off with a strip search. so I think her name was Susan. Yeah, Susan Summers. She's a journalist from the Earth that comes to Venus, and as soon as she gets there, she gets strip searched because the people that are there in charge are convinced that she might have some contraband, or maybe they want her to have contraband, but they don't find any. And we start off in the stadium where the bikers are racing, and the journalist woman or Susan. She goes to a bar where she gets a bitter dry martini, and it's interesting because on Venus things taste different because of the science behind living on a different planet. It's if you live on Venus or you live on Earth, you have to get used to it. It's not the same thing. So the bartender is apparently her contact and gives her supplies, including a gun. Don't use it if you want to go home alive, he tells her. Now, and there's a lot of spoilers, as you probably, if you watch me, you already know I have to use spoilers. She does use the gun, but she lives. Anyhow, on the bar TV, a race starts. You get an awesomely hand-drawn scene behind even more nice 80s music. Again, the master Joe Hisaishi delivered. It's always nice to see these type of animations instead of the soulless CGI you see far too much. Now, I was talking about this in the last video, that people don't like this anime because they say that the animation is outdated. They say that it's poorly designed, and they have no idea what they're talking about, because this anime is much more beautiful than a lot of the soulless, bland, boring, generic CGI that you often see too much nowadays. Afterwards, the woman, Susan, gives the bartender some Camel cigarettes, which I'm assuming are from Earth, because the bartender saw them as a as a treasure or a delicacy. The bartender, in exchange, gives her the scoop about a developing world war. The girl Susan gets excited, to which the bartender asks why should that make her happy. So Susan, she's all about grabbing the scoop, and at first she's very excited about the story, and she fails to realize that her life is basically in jeopardy. And it isn't until the end of the film that fear finally creeps in on her, and she shows it when she gets super nervous when she goes to interview Turner. So we will get to that. Then a horn goes out, and an air raid starts taking place. There's huge destruction, and more beautifully drawn bike action. Again, the detail to this animation, you don't see that. It's rare to see that nowadays. Susan seems excited, despite everyone is running away. She gets first-hand view footage, but almost gets blown up. Yeah, she doesn't realize what she's doing. It's amusing. She tells the raiders, the people, the soldiers who are raiding, to watch where they shoot, as if they would care. At this point, it is revealed the journalist. Oh yeah, so that's when she finally introduces herself with her name to the audience. As the war continues, the media seems to have backed off and encouraged Susan to leave back to Earth before the shuttle system shuts down. She refuses and gets upset with how cowardly the media has become. So she still doesn't really understand what she's getting herself into, and they gave her a chance to go back to Earth, but she decided to stay. Now, Hiro goes to visit some friends who get raided by the police. They were unable to be slick about the raid, but Hiro manages to fight one of the policemen while he was distracted and managed to run away. Afterwards, one of the police vehicles chases him, and despite him running into narrow areas, the vehicle can adapt, like water, to squeeze through to continue pursuit. He manages to barely escape after getting grazed in the leg. His bike exploding was enough to, I assume, convince the police he got caught in the flames. Now, Hiro is a fearless, determined soldier at heart. He is not afraid to confront his problems. He has no fear, and he has amazing talent to be a witty and clever soldier at will, to the point where he can even surprise like generals and commanders. And I guess we'll touch about that later on. So Hiro ends up at the house of someone he knows, and I think this is Maggie. And Maggie has a cat named Andrew, and she's unable to give food because of the 10-hour curfew that just got enforced, or was about to be enforced at the time, and does after Hiro gets there. After Hiro knocks and opens the door, she is shocked and yells because of his injuries. Fortunately for Hiro, she studied paramedics and was able to give first aid. Maggie seems very naive and optimistic about the realities of war and government corruption in Venus. Yeah, so Maggie is sort of delusional. She's studying paramedics and she wants to complete her studies. However, she doesn't really understand that Venus is a planet with a civilization that is declining. And she tells Hiro she doesn't want to know. So she's living in a fantasy, and Hiro is trying to wake her up. So Hiro ruins her dreams by telling her it's all a lie and that plants won't grow in the harsh planet of Venus. She cries and he hugs her. Hiro kisses her. But I laugh at this scene because when Maggie administered first aid, she had to take his pants off. So they're playing serious music. He's kissing her, but like half his butt's hanging out. So it's like I couldn't take the scene seriously. Then the dad gets there. Now the dad, it's unclear what happens to him because Maggie ends up in a refugee camp at the end. So it's unclear what happens to the dad. But if he tried to evacuate and he failed, either he might have actually dished his daughter and left her behind, or he got killed. They never explained it. So when the dad gets there, Maggie hides Hiro in the laundry room. And the dad ends up eating the sandwich that Maggie was making for Hiro. So Maggie has to play off that Hiro's not there. But she's very bad at hiding it because she seems obviously nervous. And she was making Hiro a sandwich. So when the dad gets there, he assumes that it's for him. And so he starts eating it, and then Andrew the cat kind of sneaks in and starts eating the meat on the sandwich. And the dad slaps the cat in the back of the head. And so the dad explains that they're going to be able to evacuate soon. And the daughter says, no, I don't want to because she wants to finish her studies and stay with her friends. However, the dad says that this is a matter of survival. He also says her biker friends are gutter trash, and he forbids her from seeing them. And so this man is completely ignorant because you can't judge somebody because they're in a biker gang. These are good people too. It's just that he wouldn't know because, he's too used to this life of just being stuck up. So Hiro gets upset and he hears this and he sneaks out. The dad does hear noise but doesn't see him when he checks to go look. Now back at Gary. Now Gary he was a revolutionary who and Hiro was right on the money when he told Gary what happened with him, because he was a fighter but he gave up. So we'll get to that. So back at Gary's, the purple haired woman. Oh, and I didn't catch her name. Anyhow, the purple haired woman, she's the angry one that's part of this group. She reveals to the kids that there's weapons hidden under the room, like anti tank weapons. They have bikes, guns. Now Gary tells them to put them away and pretend that they never saw them. The purple haired woman says she wants to blow up the tank at the stadium with them. Gary implies they'll get killed. Now Susan's there, or she pops up, and she questions Gary about him acting like he knows everything, and if he's fought tanks before. And Gary reveals a mechanical leg and says it's an old story about him losing it, and friends to a tank. He discourages them about fighting. Then Hiro shows up and asks Gary why he fought. He said he was a stupid kid, but also reveals he was tired of seeing those in power tell lies all the time. So Gary, when he was a young kid, he got fed up with the system and he decided to fight back. But he paid a huge price for it, and he ultimately failed, and he became disillusioned. And so Hiro just nails him on the head, nails it on the spot, and tells him that he not only lost his leg, but he lost his spirit as well. So the kids then try to sneak out with Gary's vehicle, and Gary catches them. Fortunately, and to Hiro's amusement, because Hiro was kind of like hearing Gary, and at first Gary was mad, so Hiro was kind of disappointed because he might not let them go out. But then Hiro lets them go ahead, and not Hiro. Gary lets him go ahead, and Hiro smiles in approval, or in I guess excitement. And Gary did this despite being made fun of. Now during this battle, you can see the inexperience as these kids struggle against the tank. Eventually, Gary drives his vehicle with full of gas towards it, and he jumps out just in time. The tank blows up, but survives and fires back at them. Jack gets way too nervous and gets killed by the tank's fire despite Hiro's effort to save them. Hiro then goes out to avenge Jack by attempting to use the old machinery at the stadium. Now this part made me laugh because I've watched too much slapstick comedy to take it seriously. So Hiro hops on this big old bulldozer, he turns it on, and he basically backhand slaps the tank with the bulldozer. I just found that funny. And so, but the fight is epic though, because Hiro grabs the tank and he's trying to shove it down like a large deep end hole. And the tank's firing at Hiro, trying to shoot him, and Hiro is maneuvering the driver's pit to try and avoid the bullets. And you just see like the giant crane struggling against the tank, and I've never seen a fight like that before, so it was amusing to watch. Now Gary is outraged, and he tells Hiro he is going too far. The guy that hangs with Susan, this is Will. So Will tells Susan to tape it, and as a journalist, Susan should have known that, but she was, I guess, too caught up in the moment, and so she starts recording it. And then Hiro manages to drag the tank down into a deep hole, but the crane collapses, and he and Gary appear to fall in also. Now, we don't see Gary again after that. According to the wiki, he's dead. The movie never confirmed it. I don't know if they're referring to the manga, but it appears as though Gary didn't make it, because in this movie, a lot of people die under suspicion of being dead, like Will, Gary, the Durner. So it's a shame, Gary. I wanted him to bring back his spirit, his youthful days of fighting for a cause against a corrupt government, being a revolutionary, but he unfortunately got crushed under all this madness, and we never saw him again. There's a part where Hiro thinks that he sees Gary, but he was just seeing things. It was somebody else. At the wreckage, Hiro is trapped under the machinery and accepts his death as an enemy tank approaches him. Luckily, he is saved, by the freedom fighters that are fighting against the government, and they are taken in by what appears to be the rebels, the freedom fighters. Now, Will. Okay, so after a battle, Will came back from. Him and Susan confront Hiro and accuse him of being a coward now because he hasn't been fighting. The purple-haired woman comes by and slaps Sue, saying, "Who cares what you think?" Because Sue has only just met them a few days ago. For the next fight, Will connects his camera on his bike so Sue can tape the action. However, despite Will acting confident in the battle, they lose the feed and implying he might have been blown up. So the scene itself is interesting because of how I try to portray the camera recording. You use some odd effects. Now Will died at this point, and Susan even goes out on a jeep to look for him, doesn't find him. So he died and his body was never found. Hiro then talks to one of the leaders in the operation. This leader has already taken an interest in Hiro for his bravery and potential talent. He decides to challenge Hiro to a race. I like how this leader is smug and comes up with funny insults. Now I do have his name eventually. Kurtz. It was Kurtz. So Kurtz and Hiro have this race. And what I like about Kurtz is just how he has fun with these things. He has fun in the face of danger. He's very smug. He gets very excited. So it was also funny how he gave Hiro a 10-second start. He's like, I gave little boys a 10-second start off just to insult Hiro. And Hiro's quiet. He just takes it and drives off. So the countdown where the leader is smug. So also what I liked about this scene is the countdown. Where he does the 10-second countdown as he lets Hiro race off. Because as they do the countdown, they're slowly like manipulating, or I guess they're executing different scenes where he's getting ready and he's smiling and all that. And I thought that it looked really, really cool. It was executed well when he was counting the 10. And as he catches up, you can tell he's really having a lot of fun, and he's really enjoying the thrill of this challenge that he's doing. And the challenge is that if he wins, then Hiro stays, but if he loses, Hiro gets to leave with his friends. So Hiro then vanishes from his sight, kind of like Initial D, how when Takumi turned his lights off and went behind the challenger. So shocked, the leader is even more surprised to see Hiro let him pass him in order to shoot him from behind. Now Hiro was shooting to kill, and alright, for his name again. And Kurtz does figure that out eventually, and Hiro doesn't deny it. But he likes this about Hiro. Like, he likes this viciousness that Hiro is making, to the point where he actually puts this whole battle, this whole fight, kind of like on Hiro, because he sees so much potential in Hiro. And the funny part about this race is that, he goes behind Hiro and guns him down, and Hiro's tire comes off, and it gets to the finish before the leader could. I have a bad memory today. So Kurtz shoots down Hiro, but Hiro's tire manages to make it to the finish line before Kurtz. But Kurtz is like, yeah, but it doesn't count because it's just your tire. And so Hiro has to stay with Kurtz. He can't leave. And his friends say goodbye, and that's the last time that we see them. So kind of sad, I don't know if they lived or died. They never show them again. So Susan then goes to interview one of Derner, which is the commander general of the corrupt government they're trying to fight, or Ishtar. I guess people that are doing the raid. I think. I mean, I watched this movie once without knowing what I was getting myself into, so I was kind of struggling to figure out what is what. So, being from Earth, Susan was allowed to go in and interview him, which is what she wanted to do as a journalist. But she appears nervous before starting her interview, and that's because she's trying to kill Derner, because Will, who was her squeeze, gets killed in action. He was the one that was recording who took the camera to record footage, and he got blown up, despite being all confident that he would survive and whatnot. So Susan goes there out of emotion to kill Derner or assassinate Derner, and she asks Derner if she could take a picture of him, and he agrees, and she says make sure that you smile very wide, and her camera collapses. Her camera collapses into a gun, but because it was a trap. Unfortunately, she, I think, left the safety on, so it let Derner the chance. It gave Derner the General Derner the chance to knock her out and get her apprehended by her men. Now back to Hero, or 07, which is his name under this freedom fighting organization. He gets slapped in the butt by a homosexual soldier who seems to like Hero and takes an interest in him. Despite that, Hero had to leave because he got called into the office by Kurtz. And Kurtz reminds him of the deal. He's like, don't shoot me in the back. Kurtz is putting a lot of faith in Hero helping them succeed in this fight. So then comes the big fight, and by the way, the soundtrack is small and mostly seems to repeat the main motive. Anyhow, the music is great though. I do like the intro theme and the vocal theme that keeps reappearing. It's classic, 80s soundtrack. Anyhow, the fight is brutal, and I enjoyed a lot of the hand-drawn action here. Which is better, which I would prefer than terrible CGI that we always seem to get nowadays. So Hero takes on the Commander General, Derner, who decides to ignore all warnings coming from his men due to his irritation and with a desire to take out Hero. So Hero manages to make this guy mad to the point where Derner ends up accidentally sealing his own fate. So however, because he was too caught up in emotion, he blows up the Extreme G bridge, which caused a rock slide to destroy his tank. Hero barely survives, hanging off some pipes. Hero's force ends up winning, and Derner is not found but assumed dead. Kurtz, who though still smug, had a broken leg here, and congratulates Hero in a way, but knows he is going to go away. So this Kurtz, even though he really admires Hero, he knows he can't control him. He knows that Hero he's determined to follow his own goals. And unfortunately, Kurtz understands that Hero's goals are not Kurtz's goals. And so Hero goes away. Hero leaves, but Kurtz does offer him his bike. As he rides off, he finds Susan being taken into a vehicle as she is on her way back to Earth. Susan sees him and gives him information on the whereabouts of Maggie. At the end of the film, some great music plays as Hero goes to the refugee camp Susan told her about as to finding Maggie. Once he gets there, he sees Andrew the cat, who recognizes Hero. Maggie was chasing after him and gets very happy and excited to see him. I really liked Maggie's voice actor. It made her appear very wholesome and pure. I mean, I like Maggie. I like her character. I like how pure and kind and loving she is. It's something that I don't see much in these kind of characters. And I do wonder what happened to Gary. I mean, if you casually watch the film, you would think that Gary would come back, but apparently he's dead. And then the fate of Hero's biker friends was left unanswered as well. Now, I love this film. I consider it a masterpiece, a 10 out of 10. Debate me if you like, but I've already made my points. And that's about all I gotta say. So thank you for watching my analysis of Venus Wars.